The cult, the final step. Other parts down below. I am back from the cruise and had a great time. Sorry to say though, I had a backslide. The first day we spent apart, but we knew we needed to get past it so that we could make it good for the boys. So the second day we spent together and ended up talking a bit and got to a point where we were able to get along. The third and fourth days went well and we all had a great time together. We posted some pics on FB and of course I made sure to tag her in them so that the other man would see, and it worked. After talking to him on day 4, I could tell she was trying to distance herself from me and got pretty drunk that night. We had met some cool people and were hanging out with them, and when we left them to head back to the cabins, she started ripping into me about some things that had been going on. The next day I was distant and she asked why, so I told her about the previous night and she didn't remember and apologized. I also told her that it was apparent by her actions after talking to him that she was being distant. She ended up telling me that he did not like the fact that she and I were getting along and having a good time. She posted a pic of me and the boys and he didn't like that. This guy is a real piece of work. He knew about this trip all along and he has a problem with her having a good time. She was really upset and ended up crying most of the day. At one point we were standing on deck looking at the scenery and she put her arm around me and said, "I'm sorry, but I know I won't get a chance to do this again," and reached up and kissed me on the lips. We spent some time apart after that but ended up talking that evening about everything that has happened over the last couple months, and she told me some details about their relationship. The blinders are coming off and she is realizing he isn't all that great. She even told me that I am way better in bed. We both got pretty drunk that night and ended up going back to her cabin, and one thing led to another. Sorry to say I did not stop her advances. She feels guilty, like she cheated on him, so I told her that she didn't do anything wrong because technically we are still married. She said, "If that is the case, then that means that I am cheating on you with him," so she got slapped with that reality. We didn't let it affect the rest of the trip and had a good time, but we ended up being too cozy and familiar. There were a few times where she would reach out and hold my hand while walking. Obviously, it felt good, but I knew that it wasn't anything more than comfort and doesn't change anything. The divorce will happen and we will eventually go our separate ways. We got home and are sleeping in our separate bedrooms and life goes on. The boyfriend doesn't want to talk to her for a while, and he doesn't even know what went on. Just based on a few pictures he is pissed off. Oh, and it doesn't help that he didn't get the job he was trying for, so he is in a rough spot and is pushing her away. This trip was good and bad. Good in that it forced us to spend time together and work out some issues so that we can continue on this path and make it as good as we can for the boys. Bad in that it broke down my wall a little, just enough that she touched my emotions a bit and I am having to fight back to where I was before the trip. I do not want to reconcile. This divorce will go through and we will go our separate ways. This was just a setback for me on detaching. The knot in my stomach is back as I wrestle with the emotions of it all. We were up front with everyone we met on the cruise and told them we were getting divorced. Everyone was surprised because they couldn't tell and thought we looked like a happy couple and all questioned why and didn't think we should. One guy in particular, quite a bit older and lots of life experience, has lived and traveled all over the world, said some things to her that I think really rocked her. He has been married several times, remarried one of his ex-wives, then divorced her again. He basically told her she is making the biggest mistake of her life, and her response was not like it has been with our friends and her family. She really listened to him and almost seemed to agree. It was interesting to get the perspective of people who we don't know and have no vested interest in our relationship. I think it was a major wake-up call for her. We have talked about everything these people said and both agree that it doesn't change anything, and we both need to move on. Based on what she has told me about their relationship, he is controlling, jealous, and immature, and does not measure up to me in so many ways. She sees this too as realizing that this feeling she has been chasing isn't enough to sustain a relationship, and what she had with me is rare. I think things will be over with him and her by the end of the month, if not the end of the week. We didn't spend any time together yesterday and she ended up over at her brother's house. She didn't want to come home while I was up because she didn't want to see me. I think things may already be over with the other man and she is feeling vulnerable. I don't know, but we will continue on the course we are on and hopefully things will go smoothly. It will be easier once she gets a job and is making progress towards supporting herself. If she is not with him, I may not even have a problem with her living in my house as long as she is paying her way, including rent and utilities. Time will tell. He is violating man law by being a whiny piece of crap. I had been wondering why he went from detective back to a beat cop, and she told me he was put on probation last year. That is why he is not getting hired by any of the departments around here and probably won't be able to for another year. That means he won't be moving over here for a while, and coupled with how he is acting and other undesirable traits, she is noticing the shiny newness is wearing off and she knows it won't last. He told her to have fun on this trip, but I think he was really hoping she would be miserable. And when he saw that she wasn't, it set him off. I'm not surprised, but it blows me away that he would give her a hard time for trying to enjoy her vacation. He really is a giant piece of crap. He tried to say she knew I needed it, but she also acted like she hadn't gotten any in months either. I think she wanted to have a reminder of what she was leaving behind and is realizing how good it really was. The older gentleman that we talked to told her, if you find someone who rocks your world in bed and is someone you can live with and love, you should hold on to them. She said that I do rock her world more than she realized, and he told her, then you are an idiot if you are throwing him away for this feeling you think you need. She has been pondering that discussion ever since, and it was an hour after talking to him that we ended up going to town. At the start of this I couldn't decide, then I got to the point where I wouldn't take her back, so to have this question in my head now sucks. I know for me, I will continue with the divorce. I need to go out in the world and experience life on my own, and that includes new women and relationships, and she needs to do the same. I don't believe in saying never, because you never know what will happen, so I won't say I will never get back with her, but it would take some major changes on her part and depend on where I end up. I told her in front of the friends we made on the cruise that she needs to go to therapy to work out her issues, and of course she was resistant, but they backed me up and told her it was best. I told her 2 nights ago that we have more to discuss and that I need to talk to her about her demons. She said she was not in a place emotionally to deal with that, and I agreed. I told her we will send the boys to Grandma's for the weekend sometime soon and do it. These are things I held back from talking to her about because I needed to keep the peace, but all it did was help her avoid them. It feels kind of weird talking to her about some of the things we have discussed over the past week, but there is something therapeutic about it all. Maybe it is only that way for me, but that is all I really care about at this point. She turned 35 this year. She doesn't know what she wants, but she is starting to realize what she had and how important it really is to her. I can see her going out and bouncing from guy to guy and fulfilling her physical desires and curiosities and realizing what she had with me is what she really wanted all along. At that point, I don't know if her pride would allow her to try to come back to me. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I don't think she will find someone who will be able to fulfill her in all the ways I have. She may come across a guy who gives her that feeling she wants, but he will be lacking in other areas that she sees as important. The older gentleman on our trip told her that I will be the bar that she compares every future relationship to, and none of them will measure up, and those men will hate me for it and resent her for comparing us. He told me that she will think every woman I am with is a B and not good enough for me. One of the people we made friends with is a 51-year-old divorced woman. She expressed how hard it is at her age to get into a quality relationship. My STBX still looks very young and is very attractive and appealing to a lot of men. But her standards for a relationship are pretty high, and she'll have a hard time finding someone to put up with her baggage. She says now that she won't settle, but eventually, I think she will, so she doesn't end up alone like her grandma and mom. The previous times we separated and were getting divorced, there was no OM, we just weren't being intimate for a while, and it was going to end. At that point, she was more into it because it seemed forbidden. Like when we first got together, and due to the religion, we weren't supposed to have sleep together, but we did. She knows this about herself and can't figure out why. Part of her baggage that she needs to go to therapy for. Her grandma was married 8 or 9 times, and none of the men could live up to her expectations of what she wanted. She was a bitter old woman and had a lot of issues that she never dealt with and ended up dying alone. Her mom has been married 3 times and has had many multitudes of boyfriends between marriages. She is the same. Her first marriage to my STBX's dad ended because she needed something new. The second was because he was an alcoholic and she thought she deserved better. The third, and current, but not for long, has some issues which are valid for her to not like, but she is also overly demanding on what she expects, and isn't willing to change but expects him to. It is a vicious cycle that continues with my STBX, and until she takes the steps to stop it by going to therapy and dealing with her issues, she is doomed to follow their footsteps. As of right now, though, she does not think what she is doing is like them, so she continues to spiral out of control. I did notice that she tended to try and sit closer and casually touch me more. At one point, though, she was telling them how amazing I was in bed and that whoever I am with will be very lucky, like she was trying to talk me up, but this came after we had already hooked up. I agree that once I get out there and start experiencing other women, she is going to start getting crazier and trying to keep her hooks in me. The guys are flooding out of the woodwork to talk to her, all these guys that have been waiting in the wings for her to be free. Despite knowing that they only want one thing, she feels the need to explore, which I think she should. I will do the same, but the difference with me is that I know what I want and will accept. Sure, I will have my share of uns, but when I am ready for a relationship, I will know what I need and I will find it. By that time, she will probably still be searching for this elusive feeling and not understand why she can't be happy. I was right. Monday night he called her and broke it off. He is saying it won't work because of the distance, and it looks like he won't be getting hired over here for at least a year. A week shy of 90 days since they first met up and a few days shy of when he first contacted her. She is obviously devastated and is going to talk to him today to tell him he can at least meet her to tell her to her face. Part of me knew it would be over quickly, but I thought it would last longer than this. So last night she tells me about how this single guy we have hung out with over the past few years invited her to a football game in October, and that another single guy we know invited her for an overnight camping or rafting trip. These are some of the scumbags I have gotten the vibe from, that they were just hoping they would have a shot at her. These invitations come 2 days after she posted on FB about our trip and put it out there publicly that we were getting divorced. Then this morning she is contacted by another guy and I just keep telling her that they are going to be flooding out of the word work and all want one thing. She keeps giving me this look like I am joking and saying no, that's not the case, but last night and today she has started to change her tune. I told her, now that it is out there, she is going to be hit up by every single guy she knows wanting to do something with her. On a good note, one of the women from the cruise keeps contacting me. She is 51, so a little older than I'd prefer, but she has a rocking body and looks 40, so I will definitely get some if I can. I told the 51-year-old about the 19-year-old my friend tried to hook me up with and she said I don't want that I will be happier getting a good time from a woman with experience. She is not married and you better believe that will be the first thing I check before I pursue a woman. You are right, I have known for years that she craved this gratification and validation from other people, not just men. I am divorcing her for sure and moving on, but I'll use her for bonding until I don't need her anymore. Speaking of, she woke up dehydrated this morning from what we did last night. At least doing that will keep me in practice so I can give a good performance for the women to come. It was actually fun. When we finished, I cleaned up and walked down the hall to my bedroom to sleep in my own bed. I am not going to keep sleeping with her. Just a couple last romps. In fact, last night will most likely be the last. My head was kind of swimming yesterday, but I am feeling much clearer today and focused on my future without her. Sorry, I am weak and won't pass it up as long as I am in control and it isn't affecting my emotional or mental state. I know she is not naive, but sometimes she gives people more credit than they deserve. I am just pointing out that these guys, even though they are friends, are really just sharks who want one thing. Yes, I am happy to see her leave and can't wait to get past all of this and be on my own. I'm sure that over the next couple months she will start in on the testing to see if I am still an option. She knows I am moving on and why. I tend to agree until the court finalizes it, but I won't initiate or ask for it. If she wants it, I'll gladly take advantage. As long as it doesn't start affecting my emotional state, I don't see anything wrong with it. I obviously don't want her to feel too comfortable or she may want to reverse things and I do not want that battle. About 9 more weeks until this is final, so I need to keep her moving in the right direction. I knew I could get some last night with very little effort, so I did kind of initiate it, but it didn't take much. From now on I will leave it up to her. Oh, and my plan of waiting till it is final is getting very hard to stick to. She left last night at 5 p.m. to go meet with him. She didn't get home until almost 6 a.m. this morning. She had told me she was going to ask him to meet her halfway so they could talk face to face. He wouldn't even do that. So, she drove almost 3 hours to talk to him and they apparently talked for quite a while. I was walking out the door for work, so I didn't get any details, but she said it went okay, just emotional. I asked her if that meant they were back together and she said, oh, no way. She looked absolutely wrecked. The only good thing I can say is that she made sure she was home in time to be there for the boys to start their second day of school. I am not looking forward to the coming weeks as she processes all of this. I feel my old feelings creeping in, but I know I need to shut them down as that relationship is gone. We ended up talking quite openly and honestly last night. She told me about her visit with him. She needed to look him in the eyes to see what he was feeling. She is still in love with him and would have tried to make the long-distance thing work for as long as it took. She says she can tell he still loves her but just can't do the long-distance thing for as long as it is going to take for him to get over here. I'm sorry, if I had found the love of my life and all that stood in my way was a 3-hour drive in a year or two, I'd make it work. This isn't an easy relationship anymore, so he is going to move on. She said they will try to remain friends and see each other when they can, but she isn't sure if she'll be able to handle that because she is so devastated. Get this, she tried to tell me I can't understand. I told her I can understand because I was in love with her and know what it feels like to be rejected by the person you love. She got this look of pain and sadness in her eyes, like she finally understood what she has done to me. He is always going to be in her heart and the one that got away, so I pretty much got my answer as to whether I would ever want to are with her in the future. Nope. She told me I am her best friend and she has missed me and wants to be able to maintain that aspect of our relationship. I told her that she lost the privilege of having access to my personal life. I will remain friends enough for us to get along for the kids and keep life civil while we are living together, but I can't do more. This will be the last deep discussion we have. That being said, I realize I am still mourning my loss. I still have very deep feelings for her and am struggling with that. I will not try to get her back or hope for her to come around, but I keep getting flooded with memories and the life we had planned. We started to fight a bit as the topic of the last few months came up in our friends' treatment of her. She thinks I affected their view of her and is looking forward to proving that she didn't leave you for him. I told her that is not why people are mad at her. They understand she wasn't in love with me. I told her they don't like that she pursued a relationship before she was free to and still living in my house and not having a job. She said, I was done the first day we talked about it, and I said I understand that, but she should have moved out then. She will not acknowledge that what she did is wrong and that is what people have an issue with. I told her that if that is the point our marriage was over, then she should have moved out or else started paying half of all the household expenses. She threw back in my face that she has shelled out tons of money toward things and paid for the divorce when we should have split it. I told her that she is the one who wanted the divorce, so it is right she should pay for it, and if she wanted me to and viewed our marriage as over on D-Day, then she should have been paying half of all expenses. We kept going around in circles and got nowhere. She is a cake eater, and if the viewpoint doesn't fit with her actions, she dismisses it. She may not be actively involved with him, but her craziness is still off the charts. She did say one thing that made me smile. She said she is realizing I am correct about all these guys contacting her, and is not flattered by it anymore. She is actually getting annoyed by it. Time for me to get back on track with detaching and schedule another therapy appointment. Although all of you are more helpful than the professional, I can feel myself getting back to where I was before the trip. As I said before, I am not going to initiate bonding or ask for it, but if it is on the table, I'll take it for a while. I am going to start pursuing some woman and experiencing that. She has told me on several occasions, and again last night, that she wants me to go get laid and experience someone new and find someone that can make me happy. Either she is genuine, or she feels guilty and needs me to do that to feel better about herself, or she is hoping I will do that and afterwards decide I want her. The thing I do know is that she may be saying that now, but once it happens, she is going to change her tune. She told me on the trip that if things didn't work out with other men, she wanted to go wild and do everything she ever wanted. She would make a list of all the men and women she wanted to sleep with and do it to get it out of her system. Last night when she told me that she realized I was right and all these guys were coming out of the woodwork and just wanted one thing, she said her feelings about that have changed and she doesn't want to do that. She said she just wants to be alone. I don't know what to make of that other than she is mourning the loss of the relationship she thought she had. It could also be that she liked the idea of it when she thought they were friends with her for more than just that, and now that she realizes they only want one thing, it doesn't give her the validation she needs. I have to say, watching her come to these realizations is quite gratifying. Everything I told her would happen has happened. It reinforces in me that everything I have done and am doing is right as well. Not that I feel it is my duty, but I do want to steer her in the right direction. Perhaps it is an overdeveloped sense of loyalty or humanity or whatever, but someone who has meant that much to me who is spiraling out of control even though she has hurt me deserves to have someone try to help her. I won't do it to my detriment, but if I can have some small impact that will eventually lead to her coming out of this more emotionally and mentally healthy, then I have done my part. I have said my piece to her, and now to pull the safety net. It's all I can do now. I should have known from the beginning. Her dad and I are a lot alike, and her mom did a similar thing to him 30 years ago. Then she went from boyfriend to boyfriend, dragging her kids along and moving in with them, married an alcoholic and stuck with him for 7 or 8 years, then left him for a guy from work she was cheating with. She moved on from him a year later and ended up marrying her current husband. They have been married for 12 years and are now getting divorced. She will be filing within the next few weeks. This one she has actually tried, and I will say that it is all on him and she has not cheated that I know of. All my STBX has to do is look at the history of her mom to know where her life is headed, but she thinks she is somehow different. Her dad met someone after he got dumped and they will celebrate 30 years of marriage next summer. I guess what I'm saying is, I will for sure be looking at the mother of whoever I am with. She is a smart woman. Usually, she will figure things out and turn her life in the right direction. I know there will be some jealousy, hurt moments when she sees me with another woman, but it won't reduce her to snot bubbles. I got a small taste of it this weekend. A friend of ours got married this weekend and we ended up going out afterward with a friend of ours and this 27-year-old single girl. Our friend has a boyfriend and is extremely attractive, and we have always flirted and have a close relationship, but nothing would ever happen. This happens around her boyfriend too, and we are close, so nothing out of the ordinary. At one point though, I noticed my STBX visible slump and act irritated when she witnessed me and this woman flirting. Then later in the night it is just me and this 27-year-old talk fairly intensely about life and relationships, and of course my STBX decides to walk up and sit down at our table and insert herself into the conversation. I was not there to pick anyone up, but it was interesting to see her reaction. Incidentally, when we got home and I was done brushing my teeth and headed to my bedroom, she stopped me in the hall and initiated a mind-blowing nightcap. I'll take it while it is available, but have a few women I've been working on and should have some good stories for you soon. Yes, she has had lesbian experiences. When things started going sideways 6 years ago, that was one of the things, she told me. She had always been curious about that but didn't think I would be okay with it. We discussed it and set up some boundaries to explore a bit. We decided that as long as we were both there it was okay, but no doing it without the other. This led to some fun times, but ultimately, I think it contributed to our downfall. At the time I didn't realize it, but I do now. She has boundary issues. She broke the agreement on one occasion she has admitted to, but I know it was more. She still enjoys being with a woman from time to time, but is definitely straight. One of her guy friends met with her on set and he is having issues with his wife. She is crazy. My STBX thinks she and he are just friends and he view her as a big sister since she is a few years older, and their relationship has always been like this, giving advice and listening. I pressed her a bit and told her that if he and his wife split up, he will be knocking on her door in a heartbeat because he doesn't view her like a sister. She got all defensive and told me to stop ruining it for her, but after some discussion she admitted that I am probably right. What is bothering her is not that I am right about these guys, it is that she wants them to be her friends and like her for who she is, and she is realizing that there will always be an ulterior motive. Is there something wrong with me that I find it is quite entertaining to watch her struggle with all of this? Back in March I set a goal to get in shape and set a target. I weighed myself yesterday and realized I have reached my target weight. Started in March but it accelerated in June after D-Day. I have lost 22 pounds and weigh what I did as a senior in high school. Now I am focusing on getting back to the 8 to 10% body fat I was back then. I am going to work on it through the winter and will be back to that by next summer, ready for boating, pools, and shirtless days in the sun. So, the weekend was interesting. Friday night she had a date night with her gay best friend. He had wine and a rose waiting for her when she got there, so she took a picture and posted it on FB with some comment about how sweet he is. I made a comment about how he knows how to treat a woman, because he is like one. One of the vultures that stalks her on FB made a snide comment and she responded about him being a real man who knows how to take care of a friend going through a hard time. I went to bed early because I was getting up early to play a really nice golf course. I am woken up at about 5 a.m. to her climbing into my bed, cuddling up to me, and laying her head on my chest. I asked her what she was doing and she said she was laying in her bed and could smell me on the sheets and doesn't know why she came in, but that she knows it isn't fair because if I did that to her, she would be pissed, which is correct. I tell her to just stay there and go to sleep, and I get up and start getting ready. While I am golfing, she sends me a text asking if I thought her comment about being a real man was directed at me. I don't look at my phone while golfing, so I didn't respond but asked her about it when I got home. Apparently, the OM saw the post and thought it was directed at him and was pissed she was posting pictures of her date. I think she did that on purpose to get a rise out of him, and it worked. He ripped into her about it all and she fired back, then sent his message to her sister-in-law, whose response was that he sounds possessive and immature. She hasn't talked to him since and made comments over the weekend that leads me to believe she is starting to see the real him and realizing she was played. Saturday night she was going to her brother's house for a party but didn't really feel like going and ended up coming home a few hours later. Sunday, she went tailgating, but again, didn't feel like going. She got there and ended up being faced with all of our friends that she has not seen or talked to in 3 months. It was awkward at first and they kind of had it out but smoothed things over. I went over to some other friend's house to watch the game and she ended up showing up there as well. That night she said she had a good day, but the best part of the day wasn't tailgating. It was coming to our friend's house to watch the game. I take that to mean that it was good because she was spending time with me. She continues to talk and act like we are getting divorced, but I keep getting very distinct messages that she is wavering. I think as the time draws close, she is feeling scared and trying to hold on to comfort. I will use it to my advantage to keep the divorce on track and on the terms we already agreed to, but it does make it difficult because it stirs my emotions. It is her week with the boys, so I am making plans for the weekend so I won't be home much and out with friends. I am going through with the divorce. Perhaps I am feeding her drama a bit. I am just trying to keep things on a good level until this thing is final. I know I can do better, but it will be hard to completely move on until she is out of my house. To complicate things, her mom is starting divorce proceedings and her husband just sold their house. That had been an option for my wife to move out, but now her mom is moving in with her son and daughter-in-law, so my STBX still has no job and nowhere to live, and her inheritance money is rapidly running out. Friday night went well. Nothing happened though. She did invite me for a weekend out of town at a cabin in the mountains. She has a couple friends who rented the cabin and they have more room, so she invited me to go. I can tell she is being careful because she is still friends with my STBX, but the fact that she invited me for a weekend means things are headed in the right direction. So last weekend was my STBX's time with the boys, but her mom is going through a divorce and moving, so she needed her help. I told her I would cover her weekend because her mom needed her and she can cover a weekend when I need her to. So, after the weekend she asks how Friday night went, so I told her and let her know that our friend invited me out of town for the weekend. On a weekend I have the boys. She said that is fine, but the weekend before she was going to make plans then. I told her we weren't swapping weekends, just covering them for each other because I had planned the weekend before too. She didn't like that very much. Later that night she got really angry and started going off on me for some stupid trivial thing. At first, I was confused, then I realized she did not like me going out Friday night with a female companion and really doesn't like the idea of me going away for a weekend with her. I may not even go that weekend. Money is tight and I don't know if I can swing it, but I really want to go. She keeps making comments about me going out and dating and hooking up with someone new like she is okay with it, but this is exactly the reaction I expected when she is faced with the reality of it. She is playing it pretty cool, but I can tell she is raging and making herself crazy. She still has feelings for other men, but I can tell she is questioning those feelings and coming out of the fog a little about how she feels about me. She hasn't said anything about wanting to and I don't think she will, but I can tell those thoughts have gone through her head. I think she realizes though that R would not be a good thing and we need to go our separate ways, but I can tell she is very conflicted about it. On a side note, other man has not contacted her in any capacity for over a week and she hasn't reached out to him. After their last fight, even the people that supported her told her what they thought of him and how he is showing his true colors. This is all stuff she has heard from me, her dad, and some of our friends, but since these people supported her it somehow means more to her now. Yesterday my oldest son turned 16. We went out for his birthday dinner like we always do, and on the way there he was telling us all the people he received happy birthday texts from. I mentioned that he should log on to Facebook when we get home to respond to all his friends. He said he doesn't like FB. We asked him why and his answer made me smile, and I didn't look but I'm sure my STBX cringed. He said, FB is lame, it is just for old people to hook with old boyfriends and girlfriends from high school. Smart kid. On another note, I am conflicted on how to handle a situation. My D will be final November 15th, but my STBX still does not have a job and is not making any moves to find one as she is preoccupied with college. I need to give her a deadline to move out but can't decide when. My friend says November 15th is when she should move out, but if I'm feeling generous, I can tell her December 1st. I have been playing with the idea of January 1st, just a clean start to the new year and ease the transition for the boys by having Christmas together. My comment, final ending coming in a few hours. Will OP make it out okay, or will he stay around for this madness? We will find out in the final ending shortly.